Very, very good morning to all of you, my friends. Welcome back. In the previous two sessions, we discussed process costing, the concepts, that is, what is normal loss, what is abnormal loss, abnormal gain. Thereafter, we discussed a full-fledged question. Further, we discussed a question wherein inter-process profit is involved. And thereafter, we started with the last part of the chapter, that is valuation of work in progress, the most important part of the chapter. The most important part of the chapter, that is the valuation of work in progress, wherein we discuss the concept, that is what is the concept of equivalent production. Thereafter, we discussed thereafter we discussed one question. So now, let's proceed further with the next part. Very good morning, Bhumika. Very good morning, Darshan. Very good morning, Ishan. Very good morning, Kiran. So now let's proceed further with the next part. Now, when talking about work in progress, till now what we discussed is that inputs hota hai, input se to break up either the units transferred or the closing work in progress. Now, let's take a different scenario wherein opening work in progress is also given in the question. So, how to value the units transferred? Very good morning, Komal. So, the next point is, what if in case opening work in progress is also given? Let's take a situation wherein I have opening work in progress of 2000 units. Further, the inputs are, let's say, 10,000 units. So in aggregate, we have 12,000 units in hand. Out of these 12,000 units, let's say 8,000 units were finished and transferred to next process. And the remaining 4,000 units are still in process by the end of the year. We call it as closing work in progress. I repeat again. Very good morning, Arunima. Very good morning, Sudhanshu. Very good morning, Kavita. So I repeat again, guys. अब तक जो हमने discuss किया, wherein inputs हम लोग particular process में करते हैं. So we are getting the output in two forms, that is the units that are still in process and the units that are 100% processed. But now let's take a different situation wherein if in question opening work in progress is also given. That is the units that are still in process at the beginning of the year. So how to deal with the same? So now here in my opening work in progress is 2000 units. My inputs are 10,000 units. So total 12,000 units we have in hand. Out of these 12,000 units, let's say 8,000 units were finished and transferred to the next process and 4,000 units are still in process. Very good morning, Sankaran. Very good morning, Dikshita. So now the point is how to value these 8,000 units. These 8,000 units can be entirely from the inputs that are made during the year, or 2,000 units from the opening work in progress and 6,000 units from the inputs that are made during the year. So ICAI has suggested two approaches, wherein the first method that is suggested is FIFO method. FIFO method, that is first in, first out method. And the second method that is suggested is weighted average method. Now, when talking about FIFO method, see, these 8,000 units are transferred to the next process. So what FIFO method says, That's first in, first out. So of these 8,000 units, 2,000 units will be from opening work in progress and 6,000 units will be from input. When talking about the valuation of 8,000 units, if we apply FIFO method, then it says that 2,000 units will be from opening work in progress and 6,000 units will be from the inputs that are made during the year. And the remaining 4,000 units that is left out, that will be closing work in progress and it will be from the inputs that are made during the year. So this is all what about FIFO method. When talking about weighted average method, I'll be discussing this part practically with the help of an example. So if you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Further, I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Thereafter, we'll start with a full-fledged question. So giving you 2 minutes time, guys. Very good morning, Krishna. When talking about the closing work in progress, 4,000 units will be entirely from the inputs. When talking about FIFO method, the 10,000, these 4,000 units will be entirely from input because see, we have 2,000 plus 10,000, 12,000 units in hand. Of these, 8,000 units are transferred to the next process. So ये कहाँ से transfer किया? 2,000 तो opening work in progress से मैं से कर लिया और 6,000 are from the inputs that are made during the year. So balance inputs we have left out with is 4,000. That is our closing work in progress. And accordingly, we will value closing work in progress. I'll be discussing this part, Ishan. Don't worry. Have some patience, my dear. So we'll be discussing both the methods one by one. So let's start. Very good morning, Vishal. You have joined a bit late, my dear. Please be on time. So now let's start with example number 5 of my material, that is equivalent basic. I request you guys to please download the material, or those who have already downloaded, then please open it. I'll be discussing this part, Syed Yasir Ahmed. Very good morning, my dear. Don't worry, by the end of this session, I assure you, you will be thorough with the concepts of how to apply FIFO method and weighted average method. So have some patience, my dear. So let's start with example number 5, that is equivalent basic. Following information is available regarding process A for the month of January 2020. Production records are given wherein the units in process, that is opening work in progress, is 4,000 units and they are 100% complete in respect of material, and labor and overheads are completed up to 25%. So this much work was completed last year. So the balance work will be completed this year. Further, the new units introduced are 16,000, units completed are 14,000, units in process at the end of the year is 6,000, wherein the work completed is how much? 80% in respect of material and 1/3 in respect of labor and overheads. Further, the details of opening work in progress is given, wherein the total cost is 8,000. Further, the cost incurred during the month is 25,600 in respect of material, labor 15,000, overheads 15,000. Now you are required to prepare a statement of equivalent production, statement showing cost for each element, statement of apportionment of cost, and process cost account for process A using both FIFO and weighted average method. Very good morning, Ms. Sim, Rajiv Kumar. So I request you guys to please read the question once. Thereafter, we'll start with this question. Now let's start with process account first. So to opening work in progress, is 4,000 units and the total cost is 8,000. To material input during the year is 16,000 units. And the cost is 25,600. Further, labor and overheads are 15,000, 15,000. Further, here it is given that the units transferred to the next process are 14,000. So by process B, now the main point is how to distribute these costs among these two. How to distribute this total cost among these two. So we have to distribute the cost among these two. So the question is how to distribute, that we'll be discussing now. So my total cost to be distributed is 25 plus 30, 55 plus 63,600 we have to distribute among these two. So how to distribute the cost of 63,600 among process B and closing work in progress? So let's start with the statement of equivalent production. I'll be discussing this question using FIFO method first. first column is particulars total. Now since the percentage of completion in respect of material is same in all the cases and the labor and overhead is same, so we'll prepare the table like material and a joint column for labor and overheads. So now let's start. Now see, when talking about units transferred, my units transferred are 14,000. So since we are applying FIFO method, so these 14,000 units will be 4,000 units from opening work in progress, and remaining 10,000 units will be from inputs that are made during the year. I repeat again, since we are applying FIFO method, that is first in, first out. So सबसे पहले, when talking about these 14,000 units, 4,000 units जो है वो opening work in progress में से होंगे, and the balance 10,000 units will be from the units that are introduced during the in the process during the year. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. I repeat again, we have transferred 14,000 units. So 14,000 units किस में से होंगे? Very simple, 4,000 units will be from opening work in progress and 10,000 units will be from the inputs that are made during the year. So now, let's start. So when talking about units transferred, 4,000 units are from opening work in progress. Now it is given in the question that the opening units that the opening work in progress that are the units that are opening work in progress, it is given that material is already completed 100% in the previous year, labor and overhead work is done up to 25% in the previous year. ये जो काम है 100% और 25% ये previous year already हो गया है. So current year में material के related कुछ भी नहीं हुआ है. And when talking about labor and overhead, since the work completed in the last year is only 25%, so 75% work will be completed this year. So 75%. 25% work was already completed last year, so 75% work will be completed this year. So 4,000 into 75%, that is 3,000. Further, when talking about units started and completed, the balance 10,000 units. So they are 100% processed during the year. So 10,000, 100%. So this is how the units transferred will be calculated. The equivalent number of units transferred will be calculated. Now when talking about closing, so these are the 14,000 units that are transferred. Now, when talking about closing work in progress, my units are 6,000. And these 6,000 units are from the inputs that are made during the year. जिसके ऊपर अभी तक कुछ भी processing नहीं हुआ था. At the beginning, it was nothing was processed. But herein in this question, it is given that the closing work in progress is 100% complete in respect of material. So इस साल काम कितना खत्म हुआ? 100% in respect of material and 33.33% in respect of labor and overheads. So that is 2000. So this is how the equivalent number of units will be calculated. That is 16,000 and 15. So those who have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. When talking about opening work in progress, when talking about these 4,000 units, 100% material work was already done in the previous year. Further, 25% work was already completed in last year. So इस साल material के related कुछ भी काम नहीं हुआ and 75% work was done in respect of labor and overhead because 25% work was already completed in the previous year. When talking about units started and completed, 10,000 units were started. I mean, yet these 10,000 units were from the inputs that are made during the year. So 100% processing is done in respect of material and 100% processing is done in respect of labor and overheads. When talking about closing work in progress, these closing work in progress is from the inputs that are made during the year. So as far as the work that is completed by the end of the year is 100% in respect of material and 33.33% in respect of labor and overhead. Don't get confused कि सर आपने इधर 25% क्यों नहीं लिया, इधर 100% क्यों नहीं लिया और इधर आपने ऐसा लिया. So see, 100% and 25% represents the work that is already completed last year, and this equivalent statement is for the current year. So इस साल हमने कितना units process किया, that is very important. Last year क्या complete किया, we have to ignore. This statement is for current year. So current year में कितना काम किया वो record होगा. So waiting for your queries, guys. Yes, Vishal, Arunima, Sankaran, Ishan. I've started with FIFO method, Ishan. Waiting for your queries, guys. Any doubts, Krishna? Bhumika? Darshan? See, Noor Jamila, when talking about these 16,000 units, ये हमने raw material input किया है. So 100% processing is done in respect of raw material. And when talking about the labor and overhead job, it is done only up to 33%. Kiran ma'am, please have some, please be patient. Thoda patience rakhiye, it will be done, don't worry. So now we are done with the statement of equivalent production. I'll be discussing this part, don't worry. So now, let's calculate the cost per unit. Further, the question is also asking us to calculate the statement showing cost for each element. So let's prepare the statement. Now, this is the statement of equivalent production for the current year and it represents the work done in the current year. So we will be taking the cost only for the current year. That is the cost incurred during the year. So statement showing cost of each element when talking about material cost. The material cost incurred during the year is 25,600. And the equivalent number of units in respect of material is 16,000. So the cost per unit will be 1.6. When talking about labor, the total cost of labor is 15,000 and the equivalent number of units are 15,000 in respect of labor. So this will be 1. And when talking about overheads, again the cost is 15,000 and the units are also 15,000. So the total cost per unit will be 1, 2, 3, 3.6. So there are few queries. Kiran Shukra, can you please repost your query? I'm not getting what you are asking. Yes, Arunima, I'll be discussing this part now. This information is given in the question, that is 25,600, 15,000 and 15,000. This information is given in the question, my dear. Vishal Bal, 6,000 units are given in the question. When talking about the percentage of units started, it is always given in the question. When talking about the units transferred, the units are transferred only when they are 100% processed. So when talking about 4,000 units, some work was already completed last year. That is 100% in respect of material is already completed last year. So no work is done in respect of material. When talking about labor and overhead, 25% work was done last year. So 75% work will be completed this year. So this is how I got this 3,000 units. When talking about 10,000 units, since we have to process these, we have to 100% process these units, then only we can transfer. So 100% work was done in respect of material and 100% work was done in respect of labor and overheads. When talking about these 6,000 units, these are from the inputs that are made during the year. And further, it is given that the 100% work is completed during this year in respect of material. And then labor and overhead, 33.33% work was completed in respect of labor and overhead. So this is how the statement of equivalent production is prepared. So now, let's start with statement showing distribution of cost. Let's start with units transferred. Now, when talking about units transferred, total 14,000 units were transferred, 4,000 were from opening work in progress. So, out of the 14,000 units transferred, 4,000 kahan se the opening work in progress. 1 second, guys. So out of the units transferred, 4,000 units were from opening work in progress, जिसके ऊपर कुछ काम हमने पिछले साल कंप्लीट किया था, and some work was completed this year. So let's start with opening work in progress. When talking about opening work in progress, कुछ परसेंट काम पिछले साल किया था. कितना किया था? 100% in respect of material and 25% in respect of labor and overheads. And the cost was 8,000. The work that was completed last year, their cost was how much? 8,000. Now, certain percentage of work was completed this year in respect of opening work in progress. So, balance work completed. When talking about the balance work completed in respect of opening work in progress, see, nothing was done in respect of material, but when talking about labor and overhead, the equivalent number of units is 3,000. So labor equivalent number of units is 3,000, 3,000 into 1. When talking about overheads also, 3,000 units are the equivalent number of units into 1. So 6,000. So when talking about the cost of these 4,000 units, the work that is completed last year, the cost is 8,000. The work that is completed this year, the cost is 6,000. Thereafter, so this is the accounting. This is the accounting of how many units? 4,000 units. Now balance, how many units? 10,000 units that were 100% completed during the year. So units started and completed. How many units? 10,000 units. And the cost is 3.6. So this will be 36,000. So the total cost of units transferred is 50,000. That is the key. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. This is the most important part, wherein we have to value these 14,000 units. 4,000 units जो है वो opening work in progress में से और 10,000 units जो है हमने इस साल process किए. So the units that are processed during the year, their cost is 36,000. So this part is the easiest part. When talking about 4,000 units, कुछ percent work complete हो रखा था last year, and the cost of the last year was 8,000. Now we have to calculate the cost of the units that are processed this year. So when talking about the work that is done in respect of material, it is nil. But yes, the equivalent number of units in case of labor and overheads is 3,000. So 3,000 and 3,000 into 1 and 1 the cost. Again, there are two ways. 4,000 units का आपको 75% cost निकालो या 3,000 units का 100% के ऊपर cost लो. The answer is same. So I'm using the second approach, which is more easy. So here in 3,000 units into 1 and 3,000 units into 1. So this is 14,000 is the cost of opening work in progress, and 36,000 is the cost of units that have started and completed. Vaishali sir, ये overhead cost कैसे आई? See, read the question, Vaishali. 15,000 is the overhead cost that is incurred during the year. So 15,000 divided by equivalent number of units for overheads, that is 15,000. I repeat again, since the percentage of completion of labor and overheads is same, so I have prepared only one column, the common column for labor and overheads. So the equivalent number of units in respect of labor and overheads will be same, that is 15,000. So when talking about material, the cost of material is 25,600 divided by equivalent number of units, that is 16,000. So I got 1.6. When talking about labor, the cost is 15,000 divided by equivalent number of units, that is 15,000. I've got 1 rupees. And similarly for overheads also, 15,000 is the cost divided by equivalent number of units, that is 15,000. I have got this cost 1. So that is how I got 3.6, the total cost. Krishna, any doubts? Kiran Shukla, please read the question carefully, my dear. Mayur Gupta, this information is given in the question, my dear. Read the question carefully. Vishal, closing units, please bataiye. So Vishal, these 6,000 units are still in process. And when talking about the work done, this work done represents the work done during the year, because these 6,000 units are from the inputs that are made during the year. See, Miss Noor Jamila, the concept is very simple, my dear. Think practically. आप question के point of view से मत समझिए, but think practically. When talking about 4,000 units, the name itself says that it is opening work in progress. That is the work that when talking about opening work in progress, it means what? Some work was completed last year. कुछ परसेंट काम जो है हमारा last year हो रखा है in 4,000 units. On these 4,000 units, certain percentage of work was already completed last year. So this year we have to complete the balance work. This year we have to complete the balance work. So this equivalent, the statement of equivalent production represents the work that is completed in this year. So of these 4,000 units, 100% material was already introduced in the previous year. So वो previous year के cost में account हो गया है. When talking about labor and overheads also, 25% work was done in the previous year. So that is already accounted in the previous year cost, and that is included in 8,000 rupees. So now, when talking about the work that is completed this year, nothing was done in respect of material. But when talking about labor and overheads, 75% work was completed, because 25% work was already completed in the last year, and that is the cost of the work that is completed last year is 8,000. So we have to talk about the cost of the work that is completed this year. So 4,000 into 75%, 3,000. Now, out of the 14,000 units transferred, 4,000 units were from opening work in progress. Now ये 10,000 units के related कुछ भी अभी तक काम हुआ नहीं है. So जो भी काम complete हुआ होगा, वो जो है current year में हुआ होगा. So here, when talking about these 10,000 units, the entire work was done in the current year itself. So that's why 10,000 into 100%, 10,000, and 10,000 into 100%, again 10,000. Because we can transfer the units only when they are 100% processed and completed. So herein, the opening work in process is also 100%. The opening work in progress units are also 100% processed now, because the work that is completed last year, the cost is 8,000, and only 3,000 equivalent number of work that was completed in this year in respect of labor and overhead. Now, when talking about closing work in progress, again, this is from the inputs that are made during the year. और इसके ऊपर कुछ भी complete हमारा हुआ नहीं है. So whatever the work that is completed will represent the cost, will be a part of the cost that is incurred during this year. So herein, these 6,000 units are from the inputs that are made during the year, जिसके ऊपर अभी तक कुछ काम नहीं हुआ है. But yes, when talking about at the end of the year, 100% work was done during this year, and 33.33% work was done in this year. So I repeat again, opening work in progress में मिस नूर जमीला, जो बैलेंस काम है वो हमें इस साल करना है, और क्लोजिंग वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस में since these are from the inputs that are made during the year, so जो भी काम किया है वो इसी साल किया है, that is in the current year. I hope your query is resolved. So when talking about the statement showing distribution of cost, we have accordingly started in a systematic way wherein opening work in progress, that is the cost of the work that is done in the previous year is 8,000. Now अब ये 4,000 units पे हमने और कितना खर्चा किया? The equivalent number of units is 3,000 and into 1 and 3,000 into 1, so 6,000. I hope your query is resolved, Noor Jamila. You are saying that you got it. Thank you. But hopefully your concepts are clear. Please focus more on concepts. Don't do ratification, my dear. Now, when talking about closing work in progress, when talking about the work completed in respect of material, 6,000 units into 1.6. In case of labor, 2,000 units into 1. And in case of overheads, again 2,000 into 1. I've already covered this part now, Arunima. Vaishali Binder, this part will be covered in weighted average method, my dear. Yes, Rushita, the chapter is very easy. The point is you have to be thorough with the concept. I request you guys to please copy this part, this solution. Bhumika, any doubts? Ishan, I have completed FIFO method. Missing Rajiv Kumar. Any doubts? Krishna, Dikshita, Diksha Agrawal. So giving you 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes time. So please copy this explanation. So now let's proceed further with the next method, that is weighted average method. So let's start with weighted average method. This method is comparatively much more easier than FIFO method. So let's start with statement of equivalent production. So now, when talking about weighted average method, the process is very simple, wherein we'll write units transferred. Total 14,000 units were transferred. So they are 100% complete. So 14,000. They are 100% complete in respect of labor and overhead. So 14,000. When talking about closing work in progress, 6,000 units that were 100% completed in respect of material and labor, material, and 33.13% of completion in respect of labor and overhead. So this will be 2,000. So the total equivalent number of units in respect of material will be 20,000. And in this case, it will be 16,000. So this is weighted average method, wherein no need to bifurcate कि opening work in progress में कितना है, units started and completed में कितना है. Straightforward, right? Units transferred 14,000. 100% 14,000, 14,000, 100% 14,000. Because after processing 100%, then only the units will be transferred to the next process. So that's why I've directly taken 14,000. Now this represents what? These 14,000, 14,000 represents what? The work that is completed last year and the work that is completed this year. See, in FIFO method, we prepare the statement of equivalent production, and the statement represents that the work that is completed this year. But in this case, we do consider the work that is completed last year and the work that is completed in the current year. So no need to bifurcate. 14,000 units were transferred, they were 100% processed. अब कुछ प्रोसेसिंग 4,000 यूनिट्स में लास्ट ईयर हुआ था, वो भी इसके अंदर कंसिडर कर लिया है. So this statement represents the work that is completed last year plus the work that is completed this year. So now let's start with the next part, wherein we'll prepare the statement or showing cost for each element. Now, as I told you guys, this statement represents the work completed last year plus the work completed in current year. So when talking about the calculation of cost per unit, we will take the previous year cost also and current year cost also. So herein, in respect of material, the cost incurred in the current year is 25,600 plus the cost incurred last year is how much? 6,000. Divided by 20,000 units. Similarly, in respect of labor also, the cost incurred this year is 15,000 plus 1,000 divided by 16. And overheads also, again 15,000 plus 1,000 divided by 16. So 1, 1. This will be 1.58. So the total cost will be 3.58. Further, when talking about the statement of distribution of cost, again, since we have taken the weighted average cost, so it's very easy to calculate the value when talking about units transferred. Since no bifurcation was done in respect of opening work in progress, work completed, further we have already taken the cost of opening work in progress while calculating cost per unit. So we can directly calculate units transferred value as 14,000 units were transferred and the cost is 3.58. That's it. Further, when talking about closing work in progress, very simple guys, equivalent number of units in respect of material is 6,000. So 6,000 into 1.58. Labor, it is 2,000 into 1. And overheads, it is 2,000 into 1. This will be 13,480. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. Further, I request you guys to please copy the solution. This will help you guys to differentiate. That is, see, I have discussed one question, the same question with FIFO method and weighted average method for more clarity of concept. So I request you guys to please copy this part. I'll be discussing this part, Darshan. Just give me some time. Giving you 2 minutes time to please copy. Any doubts? Bhumika, Chinmoy Das, Kiran Shukla, Miss Singh, Rajiv Kumar, Arunima, Miss Noor Jamila, Syed Yasir Ahmed, Rushita. Any doubts, guys? Vaishali Bindal, as I told you, see, I hope you guys have copied this part. I'll be preparing I'll be solving this weighted average method using a different approach. for better understanding. So see, as per FIFO method, we have prepared the statement like as I've already discussed FIFO method. So FIFO method में आपने कैसे statement prepare किया था? Very simple. That is when talking about units transferred for opening work in progress was 4,000 units and 75% work was completed this year. When talking about units units started and completed, $10,000 units were started, 100% completed, 100% tender. So this was the accounting for as per FIFO method in respect of units transferred. Further, when talking about closing work in progress, that is 6,000 units, which were 100% processed in respect of material. So 6,000 and 33.33% in respect of labor and overheads. So this was 2,000. So this is how I got the equivalent number of units, that is 16,000 and 15,000. This is how we prepared the statement using FIFO method. This is the statement we have prepared as per FIFO method. Now it represents what? The work that is completed this year. The work that is completed this year. Now, if we add in the same statement, if we add the work that is completed last year, ये statement किस हिसाब से हो जाएगा? Weighted average के हिसाब से हो जाएगा. So see, when talking about opening work in progress, if we add the work that is completed last year, ये statement किस हिसाब से हो जाएगा? Weighted average method के हिसाब से हो जाएगा. So when talking about opening work in progress, it was 4,000 units. And the work that was completed last year was how much? 100% in respect of material. And 25% work was completed last year in respect of labor and overheads. So this is 1,000. So herein my equivalent number of units will be 20,000 and 16,000. So this is for your better understanding. No need to do all these things. No need to do all these things. It is for your better understanding, for more clarity of concept. So as I told you, when talking about weighted average method, it represents the work that is completed this year plus the work that is completed last year. So 20,000 and 60,000 represents the work that is completed this year and last year. So that's why 25,600, that is the cost for this year, plus 6,000, the cost of last year, divided by equivalent number of units. So again, similarly, in respect of labor, also 15,000, the cost of this year, plus last year, divided by 16,000. So when talking about weighted average method, I repeat again, it represents, when talking about the statement of equivalent production, it represents the work that is completed last year, plus the work completed this year. So I hope now you guys can differentiate that what is the difference between FIFO and weighted average method, why we are adding the cost of opening work in progress to calculate the cost per unit. Still, if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your query. Further, when talking from examination point of view, it is advisable to apply weighted average method because that method is much more easier. Further, if the clear instructions are given in the question, then you have to follow the instructions that are given in the question. Do make a note of it, guys. If the percentage of completion of opening work in progress is not given in the question, then you cannot apply FIFO method. अगर आपको क्वेश्चन में परसेंटेज ऑफ कंप्लीशन ऑफ ओपनिंग वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस अगर क्लियरली गिवन नहीं है, तो यू कैन नॉट अप्लाई फीफो मेथड. Then you are left out with no other option but to apply weighted average method. So if the question is silent, do apply weighted average method. It's very easy. There are chances that you might kuch mistakes ho sakti hai under FIFO method. So those who want to copy this part also for better understanding, you can copy this part. But yes, no need to do all these stunts. That first prepare it with FIFO method, then add the work that is completed last year. No need to do these types of stunts. Simply units transferred and closing work in progress. That's it. FIFO method, if last year material work was not completed, fully complete, so जितना percent इस साल किया है वो हम लोग ले लेंगे. So let's say in opening work in progress, if 80% work was already completed last year, so 20% we will write here and 800 will be my equivalent number of units. Kiran Shukla, I repeat again, this statement represents the work that is completed this year plus last year. So that's why I have taken the cost of this year plus last year divided by the total units processed. Now, in the same question, in case of opening work in progress, the material work was completed up to 80% and labor and overhead up to 60%. Further, in closing work in progress, when talking about material, again 80% complete and labor and overhead, let's say it is 50% complete. You guys have to calculate the equivalent number of units. In the same question, that is example number 5, as per FIFO method. Waiting for your answers, guys. In the same question, that is the question what I have discussed, example number 5, if it is FIFO method, and the question is asking where in the opening work in progress 80% work was completed in respect of material, and in respect of labor and overhead 60% work was complete, and in respect of closing work in progress again 80% of the material work was complete and labor and overhead that is 50% complete. You guys have to calculate the equivalent number of units in respect of material, labor and overhead. So waiting for your answers, guys. Waiting for your answers. You guys have to tell me the equivalent number of units in respect of material, labor, and overheads. So waiting for your answers, guys. Darshan, Bhumika, Rushita, Kiran Shukla. Waiting for your answers, guys. In the same question, wherein the opening work in progress was 4,000 units and units introduced were, sorry, opening work in progress was 6,000 units, unit introduced were 10,000, for the units transferred were 14,000, and closing work in progress was 6,000. What will be the equivalent number of units in this case? When talking about the percentage of completion of labor and overheads, in case of opening work in progress, it is 60%, and in case of closing work in progress, it is 50%. Okay, I've got an answer from Kiran Shukla. I just want the final answer, my dear. Okay, I've got answer from Kiran Shukla, Dhruti Kumari Patel, again Kiran Shukla, Mayur Gupta, Darshan, Arunima. I think your answers are correct because Mayur, Darshan, and Arunima, your answers are matching. Yes, waiting for everybody, waiting for everyone to answer. Yes, Vaishali, Bhumika, Miss Noor Jamila, Rushita, Chinmoy Das, Miss Singh Rajiv Kumar, Syed Yasir Ahmed, Vishal, okay, so Ishan, I've got answer. I think your answer is correct. Miss Singh Rajiv Kumar, please recheck your answer. Kiran Shukla, you also please check your answer. Bhumika, Miss Noor Jamila, Syed Yasir Ahmed. So now, when talking about units transferred, few are from opening work in progress. So opening work in progress, 4,000 units. And the work that was completed last year in respect of material was 50%. So the balance 50% work was completed this year. So this will be 2,000. Further, the work that was completed last year in respect of labor and overhead was 60%. So 40% work was completed this year. So 4 4s are 16,600. Further, when talking about units started and completed, it is 10,000 units. So 100%, 10,000, 100%, 10,000. Further, when talking about closing work in progress, the closing work in progress are 6,000 units. They are 80% complete in respect of material. So this will be 4,800 and 50% in respect of labor and overhead. So the total will be 16,800. So I've got correct answers from Mayur Gupta, Darshan, Arunima, Ishan Best, Rushita. Please check your answer, my dear. Yes, Ishan, your answer was correct. Miss Singh Rajiv Kumar, please check your answer. Rushita, your answer was incorrect. Vaishali Bindal, very good. Miss Guduri, please check your answer. Bhumika, yes, your answer is correct. So enough of discussion on this part. So let's take 15 minutes break. We'll be back with again a different case wherein what if in case normal loss, and abnormal gain is given in the question, how to prepare statement of equivalent production. So let's take 15 minutes break. We'll be back and thereafter we'll cover the remaining part of the chapter. So thank you so much, guys. Let's take a break of 15 minutes. Welcome back, guys. So there are a few queries wherein Ishan Bhatt, sir, how weightage average include the last year work completed? What is the logic in including? See, Ishan, when talking about FIFO method, we do take separately the cost of last year plus the cost of this year. But when talking about weighted average method, the name itself says average method. So the cost of this year plus the cost of last year divided by the equivalent number of this year plus the equivalent number of last year. So in aggregate, if we calculate the cost, this is the average cost or weighted average cost. Vaishali Bindal, sir, cost per unit of method in FIFO method, why we only take the fresh material cost, not the opening work in progress? Because opening work in process, we do take the cost separately. Again, the opening work in progress is used only for units transferred, not for closing work in progress. So that's why this opening work in progress cost is to be accounted only in units transferred. That's why we do take the cost of this year only. So let's proceed further with the next part. Now, 3 points. What will be the treatment of normal loss in case of statement of equivalent production? What will be the treatment of abnormal loss? And what will be the treatment of abnormal gain? Again, the next part, while preparing statement of equivalent production, what will be the treatment of normal loss or abnormal gain? So when talking about normal loss, ignore. We have to ignore while preparing statement of equivalent production. When talking about abnormal loss, the percentage of completion of abnormal loss is always given in the question. So follow the instruction given in question. And when talking about abnormal gain, always assume that 100% complete. Always assume abnormal gain is 100% complete. When talking about abnormal loss, follow the instructions that are given in the question. And further, when talking about normal loss, in normal loss, the product cost is inflated. So we have to ignore while calculating equivalent number of units. Okay, in FIFO method, Ishan, I think you're not clear with the concept. What I want to say is that in FIFO method, the cost of work in progress forms part of units transferred, not of closing work in progress. So when talking about while calculating the value of units transferred, we take separately the cost that is incurred last year plus the additional cost on work in progress this year plus the cost of the inputs that have started and completed by year end. So this is how the cost is calculated of units transferred. I request you guys to please copy this part. So now I'm discussing example number 6, equivalent advance. So I request you guys to please open example number 6, wherein following details are related to the work done in process A of XYZ company during the month of March 2020, wherein my opening work in progress is 2000 units, wherein material, labor and overheads cost is given separately. When talking about the material introduced in process, only 38,000 units were introduced in the process. The cost is given. Further, the total units scrapped were 3,000 and the percentage of completion is given in the question. Further, the opening work in progress, which were 2000 units, the percentage of completion is given. So see, if this degree of completion is not given in the question, then you cannot apply FIFO method. For application of FIFO method, the degree of completion of opening work in progress is must. So closing work in progress is 2000 units and the degree of completion is 100%, 80%. Further, the units finished and transferred to the next process is 35,000. The normal loss is 5% of the total input, including opening work in progress. The scrap value is rupees 20 per piece. So we have to prepare the statement of equivalent production, the statement of cost, statement of distribution of cost, process A account, normal and abnormal loss account. See, Ishan, we have to assume that first and the foremost thing, since because of normal loss, the product cost is inflated. So अगर हम लोग units बढ़ा देंगे normal loss के तो product cost inflate नहीं होगा. So we have to ignore the units of normal loss. But as far as abnormal gain is concerned, we will assume that they are 100% processed. As far as abnormal loss is concerned, you have to follow the instructions that are given in the question. Yes, Darshan, let me complete this part first, then we will discuss your query. So let's start with process account. So to opening work in progress 2000 units. And the total cost of opening work in progress is 1,40,000. Further, the material introduced into the process is 38,000 units and the cost is 14,80,000. So to material. Direct labor is 3,59,000. And two overheads is 10,77,000. Further, it is given in the question that by normal loss, normal loss is 5% of the input plus opening work in progress. So this will be 2000 by units transferred to process B. It is given in the question that the units transferred to the next process is 35,000. And by closing work in progress, is 2000 units. So it means out of 40, 2000 is normal loss, 35,000 is the units that are transferred to the next process, and 2000 is closing work in progress. So balance 1000 units will be my abnormal. Further, when talking about the scrap value, it is 20 rupees per piece. So the scrap value realized on sale of normal loss is 40,000. Now we have to calculate the value of abnormal loss, the value of units transferred to next process, and closing work in progress. This is total 40,000. Ms. Singh Rajiv Kumar, I am discussing example number 6 of the material what I have provided. So now let's start with statement of equivalent production. Before this, we'll calculate the total also, the cost that need to be distributed. So 1,40,000 plus 14,80,000 plus 3,59,000 and 10,70,000. So 30,56,000. There are few changes made in the question, Arunima. I request you guys to please open the material what I have provided, example number 6. So now let's start with the statement of equivalent production, where in the first column will be the particulars. The next is total. Material, labor and overheads. Now I'm solving this question using weighted average method. So let's start. When talking about the first point, it will be units transferred. So the total units transferred are 35,000 and they are 100% completed in respect of material and 100% complete in respect of labor and overhead. Thereafter, the abnormal loss. The normal loss is of 1000 units, and it is given in the question that the degree of completion of units scrapped is 100% in respect of material and 80% in respect of labor and overheads. So 1000 into 100%, that is 1000, and 80% in respect of labor and overheads. So this will be 800. Further, when talking about closing work in progress, the closing work in progress is 2000 units. And the degree of completion of closing work in progress is 100% and 80%. So 100%, 2000, and 80%, 1600. So we can easily now calculate the total, where it is 35, 36, 37, and 38,000. Further, in this case, $37,400. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. So now, let's proceed further. Ishan, hopefully your queries are resolved. Darshan. Now, when talking about the statement of cost, we'll start with material. Since this is the weighted average method, so the cost incurred during the year plus the cost incurred last year divided by the equivalent number of this year plus the equivalent number of last year. So it's given in the question, Darshan. It is given in the question, that is unit scrapped. वैशाली नहीं लेते हैं नॉर्मल लॉस, यू हैव टू इग्नोर नॉर्मल लॉस. अगर नॉर्मल लॉस की यूनिट से डिवाइड करेंगे तो प्रोडक्ट कॉस्ट कैसे इन्फ्लेट होगा? सो दैट्स व्हाई वी स्किप नॉर्मल लॉस यूनिट्स. सो नाउ व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट द मटेरियल कॉस्ट, since it is weighted average method, so the cost of last year 80,000 plus the cost of this year 14,80,000. Now, very important point. The scrap value realized on sale of normal loss is to be deducted. So minus 40,000. Very important point, guys. Don't skip this part. Whatever the scrap value that is realized on sale of normal loss will be reduced. Whole divided by 38,000. So this will be 40 rupees. When talking about labor, again the cost of previous year 15 plus 359. 45 plus 10, 77. So when talking about units transferred, 35 unit, 1,000 units were transferred and the cost as calculated is 80. So 35,000 into 80, 28 lakh is the cost of the units that are transferred. When talking about closing work in progress, for material, the equivalent number of units is 2,000 and the labor and overheads it is 1,600 and 1,600 into the cost per unit that is 40, 10 and 30. So this will be 1,44,000. And when talking about abnormal loss, again, the equivalent number of units in case of abnormal loss is 1,800. So this will be 72,000. So abnormal loss 72,000, 28 lakh, and 1,44,000. So this is how the question is to be solved. This is how the question is to be solved. If you guys have any queries, then you guys can please post your queries. Giving you 5 minutes time to please copy this explanation. I'll be discussing the same question using FIFO method for better understanding. So giving you 5 minutes time, guys. Yes, Darshan, you can. This is 80,000. That is the material cost of opening work in progress. 80,000 is the material cost of opening work in progress. 15,000 is the labor cost of opening work in progress. And 45,000 is the overhead cost of opening work in progress. Yes, Rushita, Bhumika, any doubts? Syed Yasir Ahmed, any doubts? Ishan, Arunima, any doubts? Mayur Gupta. So, Bhumika, when talking about material cost, the cost of opening work in progress plus the cost that is incurred during the year, that is 14,80,000 minus the scrap value that is realized on sale of normal loss. This is to be deducted to calculate the cost per unit. Yes, Arunima, any doubts? Miss Singh Rajiv Kumar, any doubts? So let's start this question using FIFO method. So when talking about the units transferred, the total units transferred are 35,000. So out of these 35,000, 2,000 units will be transferred from opening work in progress and 33,000 units will be transferred. 2,000 units will be transferred from opening work in progress and 33,000 units will be transferred from the inputs that are made during the year. So when talking about units transferred, opening work in progress is 2,000 units. And the work that is already completed last year is 100% and 60% in respect of opening work in progress. So 100% it is already completed and 60% work was already completed last year. So balance 40% work will be completed this year. So 2000 into 40%, that is 800. Now, units started and completed, that is 33,000. So 100% process, 33,000. So this is the this working is done for the units that are transferred. Now the next is closing work in progress and abnormal loss. So for abnormal loss, it's 1,000 units. And the percentage of completion of the units that are scrapped is 100% and 80%. So 100% is 1000 and 80% it is 80. Similarly, for closing work in progress, it's 2000 units and the percentage of completion is same, that is 100%. So 2000 and 80%, so that is 1600. So 33 plus 1, 34 plus 2, 36. So this will be 36,200. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. So opening work in progress, the material work was already completed. So we have 0. When unit started and completed, 33,000 into 100%, 33,000. Abnormal loss, 100% completed in respect of material. So 1000 into 100%, 1080% is 800. When talking about closing work in progress, again the degree of completion is given, that is 100% and 80%. So 2000 into 100%, 2000, and 2000 into 80%, that is 1600. So 33, 34, 35, 36, and 36,200. So now let's start with the statement of cost. So here in the cost incurred during the year is 14,80,000. Of this, 40,000 is the scrap value divided by equivalent number of units, that is 36,000. In case of labor also, the cost is 3,59,000 and the equivalent number of units is 36,200. Similarly, for overheads also 10,77,000 divided by 36,200. So 14,40,000 divided by 36,000. So this will be 40. This will be 9.92. This will be 29.75. So 79.67. Waiting for your queries. If you guys have any queries in this part, you guys can please post your query. Yashika, this is FIFO method, not weighted average method, my dear. So now, So let's start with statement showing distribution of cost. When first we will start with units transferred. Wherein first is opening work in progress. That is the cost of the work that is completed last year. That is it. That is 1,40,000. Balance work in progress. So in respect of material, nothing was done, but yes, in respect of labor and overhead, the equivalent number of units are 800 and 800. So multiplied by 9.92 and 29.7. So this is the cost of 2,000 units. That is the cost incurred last year plus the cost incurred this year. Now, thereafter, the units started and completed. That is 33,000 units into 79.67. So this is how the value of units transferred will be calculated, wherein the cost that is incurred last year plus the cost in respect of these 2,000 units that is incurred this year plus units started and completed. Now thereafter, when talking about the valuation of abnormal loss, again we'll follow the same process, wherein 1,000 units and 800 units. So material, it is 1,000 units. Labor, it is 800 units. And overheads also, it is 800 units. So 1,000 into 40, 800 into 9.92 and into 29.7. $71,736. And for closing work in progress, this will be again the same process. The total will be 143,472. You have to follow the same process, that is 2,000 into 40, 1,600 into 9.92 and 1,600 into 29.75. So 143,472. So this is how these figures will be calculated. So 28,00846. In this case, 71,736 and 143. Yes, Darshan. In the same question is there in the study material, but without the degree of completion. So I have added that part to discuss this FIFO method also. So this is the way you guys have to solve FIFO method. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. The total units transferred are 35,000. So when talking about 35,000, 2,000 will be from opening work in progress and 33,000 will be from units started and completed. I request you guys to please copy the solution, giving you 2 minutes time. So Yashika, when talking about the cost distribution statement, we are using FIFO method, so we will take the cost of opening work in progress first. Thereafter, the additional cost that is incurred on these 2000 units. When talking about material, there are no equivalent number of units in case of material. But yes, labor and overheads, it is 800. So the cost is 9.92 and 29.75. So this is the total cost, that is 140 plus 31,736 is the total cost of 2000 units. When talking about the balance units, that is 33,000. So 33,000 into 79.67. So this is the total cost of the units that are transferred. And when talking about abnormal loss, 1,000 into 40, 800 into 9.92 and 29.75. And similarly for work in progress. So guys, enough of a discussion on this part now. I hope all your queries are resolved. Further, I tried my level best to make sure, that everything is covered in detail, especially the conceptual part. Further, I request you to please solve all the questions of study material and past practice manual. If you have time, then you do try solving questions of past MTPs or RTPs. It will help you while writing exams. So thank you so much, guys. I don't think you have class tomorrow. Let me check. I think it is day after tomorrow. I need to check, Darshan. I don't think we have class tomorrow. My class is directly on Tuesday now. Still, I have to check. If yes, then I'll be taking the session tomorrow. So let me check, guys. So thank you so much for your time and patience. Thank you so much for your time and patience. Let's meet in the next session with a new chapter that is joint and byproduct. So thank you so much, guys. Take care. See you soon. In the meanwhile, please do solve all the questions in writing of the practice manual and study material. So thank you so much.